I got some big news to share with you guys today. We are bringing back our weekly live shows for the offseason this Wednesday. We had them last year, and they are a ton of fun. We're just going to be talking about the latest around the Minnesota Vikings live on Wednesday. Should be early on in the afternoon or later on in the afternoon. Haven't decided a time yet, but make sure you guys are subscribed and hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss the weekly live show starting this Wednesday. I can't wait, but let's dive into today's show. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Seatman. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be diving into my official Minnesota Vikings 2024 NFL Draft Big Board. It's going to be a ton of fun diving into these prospects today because the Vikings, they have a lot of holes to fill on this roster. Plus, with the uncertainty at quarterback, kind of wanted to consolidate a list and get you guys my top 10 players I think the Vikings should draft. But speaking about the Vikings draft picks, this is where it sets out right now. And this is all, obviously, this draft big board is only for that number 11th overall pick, but the rest of the picks. They do have the 42nd overall pick in the second round. They got their own fourth at 108. They also have the Lions' fourth round pick, which obviously could change with them still playing football and them being in the NFC Championship game. But right now it sits at pick 130. Then pick 155 from Cleveland for the Zadarius Smith deal. Pick 162 from Kansas City, which obviously could change. And then Carolina sent us a 6 that sits at 178. Then we also have the Raiders' 6th round pick at 189. So that's where the Vikings kind of overall 2024 draft picks stand right now. But let's just dive right into the big board. And number one, and this is number one on every single team's draft big board, except for maybe obviously like the Bills, Bengals, and Chiefs who already have their quarterbacks. But it's number one, and it's Caleb Williams, a quarterback out of USC. We'll dive into him a little more here in a second, but I wanted to pair these two up. Number two on my draft big board is Drake May. And with both these guys, the Vikings would want to go get them. You're going to have to send a haul to either the Chicago Bears or the Washington Commanders because these are generational prospects. And I really do believe it that if you draft either of these two guys, you are getting that franchise kind of caliber quarterback where you really won't have to worry about that position for the next 15 years. But let's dive into both these guys. Whenever I watch Caleb Williams, I feel like I'm watching a more kind of sandpapered version of Kyler Murray. The way he moves around on the football field, he moves a lot like Kyler. He's got probably just about the same arm, maybe a little bigger arm than Kyler Murray, but Caleb Williams actually killed in his college career, throwing for over 10,000 passing yards, almost 1,000 yards on the ground as well, but 102 total touchdowns to only 14 interceptions, 67% completion percentage. This dude is the most kind of complete QB prospect that we have probably seen since Andrew Luck. But the other guy right next to him, Drake May, he reminds me of a lot of chalk analysis here, but a lot of NFL insiders compare him to a Justin Herbert, and I see it. Big-time arm, big-time body, can sit in the pocket, can get outside of the pocket, and he is just an overall engine at that quarterback position. Has that dual threat ability, why he ran for over 1,200 yards in his collegiate career, but also 8,000 passing yards, extremely accurate, big-time arm, can touch every blade of grass on the football field. These two, if the Vikings somehow leave draft night with these guys wearing a Vikings draft hat, I will be absolutely jumping for joy here on the channel. So 1 and 2, Caleb Williams and Drake May. But number 3, Jayden Daniels. This is the boom or bust prospect. And I'm kind of indifferent on Daniels. I think it really depends on where he goes because I think if you can offer Daniels a really solid support system, I think he can work out in the NFL. On the contrary, let's just say the Commanders take him at number 2 overall. I think he would fizzle out because with these boom or bust guys, and we've seen it with Lamar Jackson, like the Ravens gave him just a strong support system and let him develop. That's why we're seeing Lamar, the player he is today, and obviously we heard Daniels compared to him. But Daniels, the thing I love the most about him is the progression he had from years 1 to years 2 at LSU, completely taking that step forward, and that's a big reason why he won the Heisman this year. 72% completion percentage, which was fantastic, 3,800 yards, 40 pass touchdowns of 4 interceptions, yards per attempt sitting at 11.7, but it's that dual threat ability. He's not like the game-breaking athlete that Lamar Jackson was coming out, but he is a top-tier athlete at that quarterback position. Over 1,100 yards on the ground this past season, 10 touchdowns, and you would pair him up with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, those 2 bookend tackles that we have, and Kevin O'Connell. I think we could see Jayden Daniels really flourish into superstar form in the NFL if he goes to Minnesota. That's why I got him number 3 on my draft big board. Number 4 for me, Vikings got to do something about that edge position. So that's why I put Dallas Turner here. And there are really 3 edges. Me and Tex, who's producing this show, we were talking about him. It's Jared Verse, Dallas Turner, and Laitu Latu are kind of the 3 big names in the first round. But starting off with Dallas Turner here, every single time I watch Alabama play this season, he popped off the screen. I felt like it was 15 making a play here, there, everywhere. He flies around the football field at that edge spot. 10 sacks this year, 53 tackles, and there's something I just trust about drafting players from Alabama, especially at that edge position. We saw Will Anderson have a great rookie season for the Texans. And listen, the Vikings are going to need to figure something out because Danielle Hunter, he is set to be a free agent. There's no guarantee that the Vikings decide to bring him back. And even if they decide to bring him back, there's no guarantee that Hunter wants to be back. So I think the Vikings, if it's not quarterback, I think edge probably has to be the number 1 kind of position of need for this football team. So Dallas Turner, I got him at number 4 on my big board. But speak about Alabama football players, the coolest name I have ever seen in an NFL draft kind of prospect here is Kool-Aid McKinstry. The dude's name is freaking Kool-Aid. You know what? I actually made a mistake. Kool-Aid should be number 1 just for that right there. But all jokes aside, the Vikings do definitely need some needs in the secondary or have some needs in the secondary, and Kool-Aid would obviously hit a lot of those. He's very similar to actually Brian Branch, who came out last season, who's obviously playing with the Detroit Lions right now. But a little scouting breakdown, going over some strengths and weaknesses. Strengths, he's got great awareness in zone coverage, which obviously help with Brian Flores, because we know Flores, he's predominantly a man scheme guy, but he will switch it up and throw his corners into zone every once in a while. Great ball skills, which obviously kind of complements the zone coverage awareness right there. But also another kind of icing on the cake here. With Brandon Powell, the Vikings punt return is set to hit free agency. Kool-Aid McKinstry can also return punts. That's also a big strength there for him. But weaknesses, he does allow wide receivers to stack him deep, which could be a huge issue in the NFL. And he struggles with the kind of the physical route runners, kind of like the A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf type of builds, which you see a lot more in the league in comparison to college football, and double moves. He bites a ton, which also kind of I could put that as a strength too. It's kind of how you want to view it, but he does bite on double moves a lot. But also when he is biting on those moves, he also could be housing that interception that he does jump that route, but also get hit deep a couple of times. But that's Kool-Aid McKinstry, but a little scouting breakdown. But what do you guys think is the biggest need on this Vikings roster? Obviously, if you don't bring Kirk Cousins back, it's 100% quarterback. But besides quarterback, what is the biggest need on this Vikings roster? Let me know down below in the comment section. If I had to pick one, I'd probably go edge rusher. Now, I got 5 more names on my Vikings draft big board that I will get to in a second, but I got to give a big-time shout-out to Prize Picks, who is sponsoring today's edition of Vikings Now. And Prize Picks, it is daily fantasy sports made easy, and it's super simple to play. All you got to do, you pick 2 or more players, and then you're going to choose more or less on their projected stat types. This is the lineup I'm rolling with for the NBA games tonight. I'm going more on Victor Wembanyama, 21.5 points. I'm riding with the big man in Minnesota, Rudy Gobert. Going to go more on 13 rebounds for him. Both those guys have been hot lately, so I'm going to ride their hot hands tonight for my Prize Picks lineup. But if you guys head to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use that promo code CLNS, you're going to get a first deposit match all the way up to $100. Take advantage of that. Link for that will be in the comment section and description of today's show. So don't miss out. Use it. Check it out. prizepicks.com/CLNS and use that promo code CLNS. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. Number 6 on my Vikings draft big board, the man Nate Wiggins, also a great name for a cornerback. But, hey, Nate Wiggins, big physical corner out of Clemson. He was battling all year. Any single time I threw on the Clemson game, I was specifically watching this guy because he was the best player on this Clemson defense, and I knew, obviously, the Vikings still having a need at that cornerback spot. I always had extra attention to him, but he's played good. Every time I watch him, big physical corner, 6'2", 185, kind of gives me a little shades of Xavier Rhodes. Obviously, that 2017 Xavier Rhodes, if you would ever reach that would obviously be a home run draft pick. But Nate Wiggins, I wouldn't mind drafting him. 6'2", like I said, big physical corner out of Clemson, and I think he could be a sneaky pick at 11. But speaking about one of the other edges that we talked about earlier on today's show, Laitu Latu, the edge out of UCLA. Kind of for the same reasons like I mentioned, Vikings will definitely have a need at that edge spot, and Laitu Latu could definitely hit it. And he is an absolute dog. Listen, his game, he's very different than Danielle Hunter, because Danielle Hunter, when he was coming out, he was that over-the-top athlete that kind of needed to kind of refine his kind of pass rush arsenal. Laitu Latu already has that. He's got great initial burst, elite lateral agility, and just overall elusive nature. Great bend when he's coming off the edge. And he also, this is a spot I like specifically for the Vikings, he has elite ability to drop into coverage, which could be useful for Brian Flores. But like I said, not the best athlete, struggles at setting the edge, and he also has some medical history that is to be concerned about. But in terms of another like kind of boomer bust edge guy, Laitu Latu is that. Now this might be my favorite pick on the board, Troy Fautanu, the guard out of Washington. Now listen, I think the Vikings definitely have a need at that guard spot. Whether it's Ed Ingram and Dalton Risner next season, I think they're going to have to address it. And this guy would definitely address it. He is a big guard, which I love, because obviously Garrett Bradbury is not the biggest center in the world. How do you make Bradbury's life easier? You get him these two big and physical guards next to him. That's what Troy is. 6'4", 317 pounds. PFF graded him out as a 74.6 grade this past season. I would be absolutely thrilled if the Vikings took a guard and put some overall juice in this offensive line. I don't think would be the worst thing in the world. Plus, you take him, you got 4 offensive linemen I feel great about. And then if Ed Ingram, keeps on developing, Vikings could go 5 for 5 on that offensive line. Number 9 for me, J.J. McCarthy, the national champion. And he is a polarizing prospect, because some people would be thrilled if the Vikings took him at 11th overall, and some people would absolutely hate it. I think I'm in that camp. I would be thrilled. And I kind of want to dive into some advanced stats here from JJ, because a lot of the critiques with McCarthy is that, he doesn't throw the ball deep. And I understand that. Like, obviously the numbers on screen right now, they don't scream that he is a push the ball down the field thrower. But the thing is with JJ, in terms of the intangibles, in terms of just being an overall leader, the dude won in high school. He won in college. And I would bet he is going to win at the NFL level. And he does have the ability to throw the ball deep, even though he didn't do it a whole lot at Michigan. But that's just not because that's just what not he was asked to do. Like, in comparison to a guy like Michael Penix, who had first-round receivers on the outside, JJ didn't. Michigan's offense was all through the run game, but when they did ask him to throw the ball deep, threw for over 700 yards this season, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception on throws that are 20-plus yards down the field. I would love JJ. I think he would be a great leader and just an overall guy that I think I really think he would thrive under Kevin O'Connell's offense. So I got him at 9. And now the other guy, the other quarterback, number 5 quarterback on my big board is Michael Penix. And this, listen, I'm not going to lie. If the Vikings took Penix at 11, I would have a lot of concerns, just because mainly he's an older quarterback, does have that medical history. And I think if you're going to choose between JJ or Penix, I'd take the younger guy with the intangibles and with just, not having that medical history that Penix does. But that's who I would choose out of JJ and Penix. But I want to get you guys involved. Last question of today's show. Pick a QB. Type JJ for JJ McCarthy. Type NP for Michael Penix Jr. Let me know your thoughts down below. As always, guys, make sure you guys are subscribed here to the channel. Keep you guys posted with all Vikings news and rumors throughout the offseason. Live shows are back on Wednesday. Make sure you guys do tune in. Hit that notification bell so you guys do not miss it. And we'll see you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikes, baby.